Welcome everyone. This is JT from Ninja Panda U, and today we're going to go over how we can make a simple rain effect like this. All right, so first we're just going to open up a blank project like here, and you can leave your cat sprite if you want. And what we're going to do is talk about how we're going to make this rain effect that comes and falls from the sky. So let's make a very simple version first, and then we'll build upon that. So I'm going to go ahead and make a new sprite, and we could call this rain if you want. We'll call it rain over here. But I'm just going to take a line tool, and I'm just going to make a line. Probably should do it a little straighter. There we go. And that's it. Let's just go ahead and make this. And I'm going to go back to my code, and let's just call this rain for right now. That way, we're just naming things. But what we want it to do is anytime you click on get flag started, when flag clicked, you want it to then automatically start having this fall down. So what we're going to do is I'm going to kind of move it up here, and we're going to then go up to our motion section and grab our Y. So we want to change the Y by let 10 is fine, but we want it to be -10 because we want it to go down. So right now, if you clicked and dragged around this piece, you'll see at the top, Y is 123. At the bottom, it's -148. It gives you a good idea of like, okay, that's the direction we want to go, right? So if I did this, it's just going to run once. So what we want to do is we just want to do it forever for the time being. And let's throw that in there, and let's go ahead and clip. There you go. Now you have one of these. So what we want to do is build on top of this and make it where it is looping, and every time it's randomly generating one of these to show up in our code. So let's go ahead and make a clone of this. So I'm going to go ahead and go into our control, and we're just going to do create clone. So we want it to go in here in the forever loop. We're changing it by -10, and we want to create a clone of myself. Now, if you hit go for this, actually, let's see, where is this? -200. Let's put this back to 100. All right, so now when you do this, it's just going to be a straight line because we're not really changing the XY value or anything like that. So, and it's kind of filling in the line because there's no time delay between creating the clone and so forth. So what we're going to do is we're going to make some edits as we go along, but in order to fix this, we could create a wait. So let's go ahead. Right before we make the clone, let's have it wait like 0.3 seconds. And now when you play this, let's reset this back to 100 for the time being. We'll just throw it up here just so we can see it. And it's still like, wait, I thought this was supposed to help us. But we want to slightly, like if we actually created this with like a 2-second delay, you'll be able to see it, right? So this is kind of where you get to play around with a little bit of this, but there you go. Huh, interesting. It's going very slow though. Okay, all right. So we don't really want it that slow, right? So we're just gonna keep it up here and change this back to our O3. And then what I'm gonna do is move our changing piece. So what we're gonna do is this part here is only going to make a clone of the rain sprite, and that's it whenever you click. And then we want to grab our when I start as a clone, and let's put some logic in there. So we will, what I like to do is I like to hide the initial first sprite because we don't really mess with that one as much once it starts. So we're just gonna hide that. So then the first thing we do here is we show the clones because we really care about the clones. And then what we want to do is have it change by -10. Now, before we do that, we also want it to pick a random X value. So let's go ahead and do this in the right order. We want to pick an X value for the range to be set to. And then you want to set it up where you have a type of loop that minuses y until you pass the bottom or way underneath here, right? So pick a x value for the range to be set. So we could use a random in this situation. So random is in your variables section, I believe. So let's go ahead and look for here, pick a random number. And then we want to just have it pick whatever value and generate that location, right? So let's go ahead and let's set X up. And what we can do is, let's see, where is it? Set X to. All right, so set X to a random number of, let's just do -200 and 200. 200. And just to see if this works, I'm just going to grab a forever loop real quick and throw this in here. And let's change this by 10. Let's just see what happens. All right, cool. Now you got some things going. Notice how you see all these pieces here. We're going to address all this in a little bit as we build out our rain in general, right? But now at least we have it moving around and it is set to where it will fall. Notice how it stopped too. Eventually you will run out of how much you can have on the screen. And so we need to clean it up at the bottom. So we got to do some garbage collection, right? So up here we did some, picked a random X value. We just had it loop. Now, what we can do is, instead of having it loop forever, we can do a repeat until a certain condition is met. So we're just going to move that in there and put that there. And I'll get rid of my forever. So now we have to create the actual condition and so forth. So when I'm looking at my rain over here, I'm just going to show it right now. I want it to kind of disappear when it's there, right? But let's go ahead and get this to the edge. All right, you're on -185. So let's just say -200 is a good number for the time being, right? That it's like, okay, if I hit this, I want it to just go away. So repeat until it will keep on going until the following statement is true. So what we want to do is grab our conditional where we're going to do a less than, and then we're going to scroll up to our motion and we just want to grab the Y position. So we're just going to say, hey, when Y is less than what I say, 200, then I want to jump out of this. And if that's the case, then what we can do is delete this clone, right? So now if I hit play, you're gonna see it. You don't see any more of this garbage. I mean, like it's collecting all like the things that are flying out. You don't see these little dots at the bottom, right? And now you got yourself a start of what rain can be. And then really the next part is to figure out, okay, well, how do I switch it up and change how I can do some of this and get it to look like even more rain is happening? And one fast way to do that is you could literally duplicate this entire block and change this number. So you could be like, okay, you know what? That's at 0.3 seconds. I'm going to make this at 0.4. And now I go, you're going to get more rain in your piece. And you can keep adding more and more if you want. And you could do that kind of stuff. So other things that we can do when it comes to this is setting up some, oops, setting up some rain that is more like opaque, or in this case, playing around with the ghost value is higher in ghost value, right? So same thing with how you did set X to pick a random number. What we can do is the same thing where we want to pick a random number, and you can go to looks and we want to change the ghost effect by a random number of 1 to like 90, and then throw this in here. And now all of a sudden when you hit this, you're gonna get different opacities and so forth of the rain, and it kind of gives a little bit more depth in what you're trying to do and so forth. And so this is kind of how you get the first part of a very simple rain going, all with just one sprite, cloning itself, and it's cleaning up its own rain sprites at the bottom, so it continuously generates. So the last thing is, if you really wanted to try to get it to do like a splash effect or anything like that, I've made it where there's multiple ways you can do this. And since we're using a very simple sprite, I'm just gonna make a costume, a couple costumes actually. So I'm just gonna duplicate this, and on the second one, I'm just gonna kind of trim off some of this, and then I'm gonna duplicate it one more time, and then you could use the brush tool, which might actually make it look a little better, but you know, I just like created like a little line there. Oops, but not that color, so let's go here. Oh, oh. There we go. And then, okay, I'm just going to use the line tool. I don't want to mess with it too much. And honestly, like, this is a very generic way you can do this. You could really tweak with it and actually make a real splash if you want. But I just kind of did this, and it looks really weird, right? But the reason why we're doing this is when we go back here, I am going to then use like a pixelation effect. So it's just going to pixelate those pieces happening, right? So if you want to draw out the entire splash sequence, go ahead and you could cycle through that in an animation. But in this one, we're not going to do that piece. So let's see. We want to find change. Where is change? Okay, right here, change. And go to pixelate. And I'm just going to put it at a high value. So 80 is fine. So what we're going to say is when it hits this, instead of it getting deleted right away, we're going to change the pixelated effect. And then what we're going to do is do a quick repeat of, where are you? There you go. We're going to repeat 3 times because I only made 3 costumes. And we're just going to go through each costume. Next costume. And once that's done, then we're here. Except this will go so fast that we need to add a wait. So let's go ahead and grab this, and you can just do it like a very small amount of time. So then at least you can see it. So now when you do this, you're going to be like, oh, but I don't see this. In order for us to actually see it, we got to do something that's more visible. So in this one, I'm going to just do minus 150 instead of 200. That way, then you can see it. And now see how it's just, it looks like it's hitting this right here. And funny enough, that's like the perfect value for right where our sprite is. So that's kind of cool. And that's how you can get a quick effect um, for rain and for it to splash. So now you can add additional things like, hey, if this touches the ground, I want it to also just pixelate and look like a splash and so forth. But we can do that in our next video. So quick recap, we made a clone, we did a loop of it, generate our one rain sprite, we played with the ghost value, we picked a random X value, and we kept moving it with the Y value until it hit a certain um, point at the bottom of our screen, and then we deleted it. And for our splash effect, we made a pixelation effect, repeated it to the three costumes we just made, and this is how you can get a sprite going with this rain effect. Thank you so much, and I'll catch you in the next video.